Let's preview the Nebraska Cornhusker spring football practice. What can we expect? Rather, what are some questions that we have for this team as we get into the spring phase of things? Now, we talked to Coach Matt Rhule on this very program and just asked him, what do you want to get accomplished during spring football? And what he told us was, we want to be a physical football team. We want to take that next step in terms of establishing an edge for our culture and what we do between the white lines. Now, if you want to keep up with in real time what's going on in Nebraska, we'll have spring intel for you on this show, so make sure you're subscribed, but also go get a membership over at Husker Online, the Nebraska On 3 site. They do a phenomenal job. The message boards will be filled with tons of information, so make sure you're locked in there. But you look at what Nebraska has been historically. What do we think about Nebraska when we think dominant Nebraska? We think just that, right? Physically dominant on the offensive and defensive lines of scrimmage. Now, last year, they were 107th in the country in terms of rush yards per game with 112, and they were 105th in the country in terms of rush yards allowed, giving up right around 190 yards a game on the ground. So that's not Nebraska football. That's not who they want to be. That's not going to be their identity under Matt Rhule. Now, in the spring, you can't make an absolute statement about your team because it's glorified practices and you're a long way from playing games, but you can get a temperature. You can hear things on the message boards. You can sort of get a gauge for what the temperature is around those offensive and defensive line units. Now, they brought in quite a few transfers, 11 of them so far. 6 of those individuals are what I like to call trench players. So that's offensive and defensive line, yes, but also linebacker, tight end. Those are some guys that are going to integrate themselves into the team, and I would imagine help shore up some of those spots they want to be more physical at. Now, don't get it twisted. During those spring practices, they don't have to worry about guys being able to play in game one or being able to get healthy for the game that's approaching. You got 15 practices to just absolutely beat each other up. And from what I know, having played for Matt Rhule, plays a strong word. Having been in Matt Rhule's program, he emphasizes physicality. He emphasized competitiveness. That's what they're going to do in spring practice. So what is the word that we're hearing on Husker Online? What is the intel we're getting in terms of the progress that's being made in the trenches and the physical edge for Nebraska? One of the things I'm excited to watch develop over these 15 practices. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel, the Hard Count is live twice a week, but we got college football content coming for you every single day. Huge shout out to the Nebraska Cornhusker faithful that have boosted us throughout the duration of the fall and into this period where they're not playing games, but we appreciate y'all rocking with us. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JDPikel. I want to do more of what y'all want to see. So get at me on there, follow me there. It's a great way for us to interact. Now, the second thing I'm looking at, the second thing that we got to preview heading to spring football, the quarterback position. It's the most important position in all of sports. You have a difficult time being successful if you don't have the right piece at quarterback. Now, they got Thompson, who, when healthy, quite frankly, and had some solid variables around him, was able to perform pretty well. Now, he's not going to play in the spring. It's going to be Jeff Sims, the transfer from Georgia Tech, more or less the way that I'm looking at it. I think it's his opportunity to take center stage. There's other guys in the quarterback room, but I think Jeff Sims really has a chance to soak up the spotlight here. My question is, how much of a quarterback race does he make it in the spring? What does he put forth from a resume perspective headed into fall camp for this coaching staff to evaluate? Imagine this situation. What if Jeff Sims just goes out there and absolutely lights it up? What if he is just locked in, has a huge spring game, and just does so many things well to where when you get to fall camp and you're Thompson and you haven't been able to take the field yet for this new staff, where does that put this race? Is Jeff Sims leader in the clubhouse and Thompson has to make up some ground? Or is it, hey, Jeff Sims sort of put himself in contention to go neck and neck with Thompson? I'm just very curious to see the distance that Thompson and Jeff Sims have between them coming out of spring practice, with Jeff Sims being more or less, to my understanding, the lone quarterback. Not the lone quarterback. He will be one of the quarterbacks that has a chance to really grab this position by the throat. I'll just say this. You brought him in for a reason. Okay, you brought Jeff Sims to Lincoln, Nebraska for a reason. And so I think he will have every opportunity to take a really solid swing at that starting quarterback spot. I'm not making a prediction, but Jeff Sims taking center stage in spring football should be a lot of fun. Okay? Now, the last thing I'm looking for, and this is something we're going to really have to hone in on the message boards. We'll get a gauge for it during the spring game, but really in the message boards, I'm curious to see this. What is the eye test from post-fall to taking the field during spring practice? What went down during winter conditioning, during mat drills, during pushing sleds in a foot of snow? What is the progression we've made physically as a program in the strength and conditioning sector of things? Because you tell me you want to be physical, you tell me you want to be the bully on the block, right? Well, guess what? You can maximize that if you're big, fast, explosive. And everybody's big, fast, explosive in college football. But what are you doing during the winter conditioning period to help separate yourself and lean into that identity? Corey Campbell, the head strength coach at Nebraska, someone I've worked with closely before. I think he's the right guy to get this thing headed the direction they want to get it headed to. And I'm very excited to see the bounds made from a just heightened weight standpoint. Like, looking at the weights especially, I mean, you're not going to get taller, obviously, through winter conditioning. If you could, maybe you got something else going for you and you deserve jobs other places. The weights is going to be very curious to me because during winter conditioning, you're really focusing on the mental side of things, yes, and team building, of course, but you're trying to pack on weight because you know you're going to lose it during the spring and into summer. So I'm just curious to see who's put on the 10 pounds, who's put on the 15 pounds. How big are these guys coming out of winter conditioning with this new strength staff? I'm excited to see it. But again, that is how you will hone your edge from a physicality standpoint. That's your identity. You want to go ahead and be the bully in the block. You got to be big. Got to be fast. Got to be explosive. Got to be strong. So the quarterback position, the progress made in the trenches with the transfer as a part of that, and then what they've done from an eye test. How do they look in pads from a year ago? After this strength staff has had the winter with them. Curious to see all of that. We're going to preview it, and we're going to keep you in the loop from an intel standpoint on this very show, so make sure you're subscribed. Also get a membership at the Nebraska On 3 site, Husker Online. There's nobody else in the fan site game covering Nebraska better than those people. So lock it in there. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel so we can keep this thing rolling when we're not on camera right here. We're not live. We got content every day, but we're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.